and welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Rahul Gandhi. Here's a look at what's lined up for you on the show tonight. Our cover story tonight is about the biggest headline from India today. The country's opposition leader Rahul Gandhi has been expelled from the parliament. He has been sentenced to 2 years in prison. Is this politics or is the law catching up with the Gandhi scion? On Gravitas tonight, we get you unbiased and comprehensive coverage of this big story. We also tell you whether countries around the world also have similar grounds that allow a sitting member of the parliament to be disqualified overnight. Also on the show for you, North Korea says it has tested an underwater drone that can unleash a radioactive tsunami. Is it the world's most dangerous nuclear weapon? Will the weapon lead to a nuclear tsunami? How much contamination are we looking at? We get you the full report. China's scandal-plagued Football Association has been rocked by corruption probes as Xi Jinping's crackdown continues. We tell you more. What's next for Jack Dorsey? A report by Hindenburg accuses a company he owns of widely overstating its user base and indulging in fraudulent practices. How come the world's happiest countries also have the highest consumption of antidepressants? Is addressing mental health the secret sauce to happiness? We discuss. Let me now ask you a question. Have you heard of the term tsunami bomb? Well, it's a concept that dates back to World War II. It was coined by the US and New Zealand. They tried developing a tectonic weapon that could create destructive tsunamis. The concept was deemed feasible, but it never saw the light of day because such a bomb could never be invented. But what if I tell you it finally has been? That there is now a weapon somewhere that can trigger a nuclear tsunami. Have a look at these images. They are from an unidentified location in North Korea. They show the country's leader, Kim Jong-un, sitting and smiling at his new weapon. What exactly is this thing all about? Well, Pyongyang says it is an underwater attack drone that can generate a radioactive tsunami. Another set of visuals showing a drill where the drone cruises underwater at a depth of about 80 to 150 meters. North Korea says it remained there for 59 hours and detonated off its east coast. And they are calling this weapon HAEIL. In Korean, it translates to tsunami. This weapon is intended to make sneak attacks in enemy waters. In fact, it can destroy naval striker groups and major operational ports. How exactly? By making a super-scale radioactive wave through an explosion. This is where this weapon was tested, in the waters of South Hamgyong province, just a few hundred miles away from the coast of Japan. The entire exercise was supervised by Kim Jong-un himself, who said that it should serve as a warning for the US and South Korea to realize his country's unlimited nuclear war deterrence. The question is, who is North Korea going to use this weapon against? Is it South Korea, Japan, Taiwan? Also, just how much contamination will this weapon cause? After all, we are talking about an underground nuclear explosion, one that could turn the waters around North Korea highly nauseous. And these are questions that have no definite answer, thanks to the state of secrecy that prevails in Pyongyang. But what we can tell you is that this weapon is the first of its kind. It seems to be emulating Russia's Poseidon torpedoes. These are nuclear bombs that are so powerful that they can cause radioactive ocean swells and a huge nuclear tsunami. In fact, just this month, a Russian general threatened to use this bomb to sink the UK if the NATO sets foot in Ukraine. He said Moscow has the ability to destroy Britain with a 1,000-foot-high radioactive wave. And now North Korea also has such a weapon. Reports say it had been in development since 2012 and had undergone 50 tests in the last 2 years. But this week's test verified its reliability and its safety, along with confirming its lethal strike capability. And interestingly, this development comes right after another big test. Just last Thursday, Pyongyang test-fired intercontinental ballistic missiles. This happened just hours before the leaders of South Korea and Japan met. A week on, it is test-firing an underwater nuclear drone, and this has sent alarm bells ringing in the region. Have a look at these images. Immediately after this test, the militaries of the US and South Korea held air bombing drills. This was in response to Pyongyang's actions. They say these drills are necessary, that these drills are necessary. And analysts agree. A number of them are concerned by the development of this underwater drone. They say the fact that North Korea has unveiled it after 11 years means that the weapon system is pretty solid. Listen in to a few voices.
실질적으로 재래식이긴 하지만
It's conventional, but it is very hard to detect. Also, it is highly likely not to make big noises. North Korea had planned this 11 years ago and conducted secret tests about 50 times over 2 years. And then they finally unveiled in the presence of Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un. I would say the weapon system should be pretty solid. When you watch the video of the cruise missiles flying, unveiled by North Korea, you can see the missiles having perfect terrain avoidance capability. In the video, the missile was flying up the mountain as if it was brushing it, which shows the North is very confident in its cruise missile technology.
So the broad consensus is that this weapon may not be ready for deployment yet, but it could still prove to be lethal in the long run. The question is, what is the world going to do about this? Or should I ask, can the world do anything about it? You see, for the last 1 year, North Korea has been on a weapon testing spree. It has test-fired weapons of all kinds and forms. The US has conducted drills. Japan has issued warnings. South Korea has stepped up its security. Yet, all of this has failed to deter Kim Jong-un. He clearly seems to be a man on a mission. And what could that mission possibly be? Is he preparing for a war? Well, only time will tell. Just yesterday, I told you about China's crackdown on billionaires, about the CCP's campaign against the country's super rich to present a clean image of itself. The story continues. And football is apparently one of Xi Jinping's favorite sports. And even then, it could not survive his crackdown. Football pitches had just started to open up after the strict lockdowns, and now the sport stands threatened by a corruption scandal. It started in November 2022, Li Tai, one of China's most famous football figures, disappeared. Li had coached the men's national team. The Chinese authorities said he was being investigated. And why is that? For suspected serious violations of the law. It then started a domino effect. Sports administrators and professional players were placed under investigation one after another. This includes Chen Shuyuan, the president of the Chinese Football Association, or CFA, Liu Yi, CFA's former Secretary General, Chen Yongliang, CFA's Executive Deputy Secretary General, and the Chinese international player Jin Jingdao, among others. Now, two more officials are facing similar investigations. Huang Song, the head of the CFA's competition department, and Wang Xiaoping, the chief of its disciplinary committee. Meanwhile, 6 high-ranking members of China's biggest football training school have also been slapped with life bans over match fixing. It's almost like history is repeating itself. You see, in 2013, 33 Chinese football players and officials were banned for life again for match fixing. This is not what China expected. The country had big ambitions for its football industry. In 2016, the CFA unveiled a plan to build 70,000 football pitches. It aspired to get 50 million people playing the game. Both milestones were to be achieved by 2020. Xi Jinping also wanted China to host the World Cup. But all those dreams went down the drain. By 2021, just shy of 27,000 pitches were built, and this was less than even half of the official target. The interest around football is now waning in China, and why is that? Because of China's poor performance in the sport. The men's national team languishes at 80th place in the global rankings. It has not qualified for the World Cup for over 2 decades now. And the last time this happened was in 2002. Or is it because of its heavy commercialization? You see, the game is considered super rich as compared to other sports. And as we have been telling you, China has a problem with the super rich. CFA officials have been booked for corruption, and this is the most sweeping crackdown on football since Xi Jinping came to power. Have a look at these figures. According to FIFA, Chinese clubs spent $1.7 billion on international transfers between 2011 and 2020. The spending, in fact, peaked in 2016. The Chinese Super League spent $450 million on incoming transfers. The Chinese authorities were concerned. Why were clubs spending all this money on foreigners? They came up with a solution in 2017. 100% transfer tax was introduced on foreign players bought for over $6.5 million. And this money was meant to go on towards grassroots development. But experts say it has gone missing. And some worry that the money has disappeared into the pockets of the corrupt officials. And this is what has motivated the crackdown on the football administration. But is that really all? Are the detentions politically motivated? Well, the details are scarce. The alleged offences against the CFA administrators have not been officially revealed, but it is certain that the top brass of the game does not enjoy the same political support that they once did. And our next story comes from the United States, where a former president is trying to be as theatrical as possible in order to get the attention of the people. I am talking about Donald Trump. He has made his way back into the news. Our next report getting you the complete story.
Take a look at these images. Pictures claiming to show Trump getting tackled by the riot gear-clad New York City police. The images show him getting dragged on the streets, while a bunch of officers manhandle him. But are these sensational images real? Although the pictures are highly realistic and well detailed, they are not real. This is what happens when artificial intelligence is at play. The images were littered across Twitter, and especially on Trump's social media platform, Truth Social. Why is Trump allowing such misinformation to spread on the internet? Well, it seems like the man has a plan. Critics can see through his actions. And saying that the real estate mogul turned politician is trying to portray himself as a martyr. Such false news on the internet can get him considerable sympathy from the Republicans and potentially boost his electoral chances in the next presidential election. So how else is Trump trying to play the sympathy card? The former president has urged that he wants to remain in handcuffs when he is presented in court for the Stormy Daniels case. A court trial which is being followed closely by the media. But why would he try to sensationalize the court trial? Reports say that Trump is trying to turn the court appearance into a spectacle and is aiming for drama. It seems that the Republican wants to show his supporters that he is defiant, as he believes that he is being unfairly treated. And what does his legal team have to say about this? His advisors have said that the Republican should not go in person in front of the grand jury. The former president was advised to turn himself in quietly and schedule a remote appearance. But did Trump pay heed to this advice? No, he said he does not care if he gets shot. Trump clearly has his priorities straight, but could this end badly for him? His advisors believe so. The officials are concerned about the gravity of the hush money case and the criminal charges that Trump might face. And what is the Republican doing amid these concerns? He has held meetings on how he can appear even more defiant in front of the prosecution, rather than pondering on the risk of being proven guilty. But there's also worry on the other side. Law enforcement officials are bracing for major unrest if Trump is proven guilty and faces charges. So Trump's advisors and the law enforcement are tense about what might unfold. But Trump seems to be floating on a cloud, while he makes gaining sympathy the name of the game.
Our next story comes from India, where a multinational conglomerate is pushing its app to challenge the big players in the world. We are focusing on India's Tata Group, which is planning a massive $2 billion investment into its super app, Tata Neu. Let's get to the details. The group's digital division, Tata Digital, says that the fresh $2 billion capital could help Tata Neu strengthen its digital offerings, fix technical glitches, and meet new spending requirements. So what exactly is this so-called super app all about? Tata Neu provides users with groceries and lets the customers buy a variety of gadgets. And it does not stop there. The app also lets people reserve airplane tickets and restaurant tables. Tata Neu also comes with membership services and offers on financial products like bill payments, loans, and insurance. Tata Neu entered the league of super apps when it was released last year. Although it is still reviewing its strategy, the super app is in head-to-head competition with rivals like Amazon and Flipkart. And what might come as a surprise is that the super app was modeled on the Chinese applications, Alipay and WeChat. This approach did not go well for the company after Tata Neu ran into glitches and tons of customer complaints came rushing in. Apart from the app's array of services, Tata Neu has a unique in-house digital magazine called Stories. The magazine showcases lifestyle-focused articles and videos. The digital magazine puts focus on themes of technology, fashion, food, travel. Although the app has faced its share of hard times, the company is planning to receive additional funding over the next 2 years. The conglomerate has also been expanding its e-commerce portfolio. Tata acquired companies like Indian e-grocer Big Basket and e-pharmacy 1mg after investing more than $2 billion in the past 3 years. Although the Tata Group is thriving in the e-commerce market, it is facing competition from brands like Reliance Industries, Amazon, Walmart-owned Flipkart and Myntra. The players are engaged in a pricing war in a bid to capture the maximum market share. And this might be one of the major reasons the Tata Group is pushing for more investments in its super app. But the Tata new app is just the tip of the iceberg. The Tata Group has not stopped advancing, not in one but multiple fields. Tata Motors, which is India's biggest retailer of electric vehicles, will now launch special exclusive showrooms just for EVs. This is only one of the many feats that Tata has achieved. Tata is also working towards a greener tomorrow. The conglomerate has set a goal to achieve net zero emissions by 2045. It is promoting zero carbon emission travel by giving its customers a range of choices in electric vehicles. Although Tata is progressing its way to the top of the ladder, the Tata new app is still in its struggling phase. The super app is projected to report sales of up to $4 billion, but this is nearly half as compared to the $8 billion target. The multinational conglomerate now stands among the world's largest companies, spanning from the EV market to e-commerce platforms, and one can only imagine what it will conquer next. And our next story is about Jack Dorsey, the former Twitter boss. A report by Hindenburg has hit a company he owns like a thunderbolt. The name of this company is Block. The report accuses Block of widely overstating its user base and indulging in fraudulent practices. And this report has made Block stocks tumble by 15%. While Dorsey has lost $523 million from his fortune. Our next report telling you more.
It was something no one expected. A company owned by Jack Dorsey, widely overstating its user base. This stinging revelation is part of a new publication by Hindenburg. The American short seller, whose last report caused the Adani Group to lose over 12 lakh crores. It has launched yet another salvo, this time at Jack Dorsey, the former Twitter boss. In 2009, he founded a company called Square, which in 2021 was renamed to Block. This company owns the mobile app Cash App and has been growing at a breakneck speed. In 2021, it surpassed $100 billion in market value. Hindenburg's report has inflicted heavy damage to its reputation. Let's break down the allegations for you. 1. The company knew many of its accounts were fraudulent, but failed to account for this in its financial disclosure. 2. Dorsey profiteered by dumping stocks worth billions of dollars from this company during the pandemic. 3. Dorsey used this company to build an empire and amassed over $5 billion in personal fortune. 4. Dorsey himself has multiple accounts, including some that are apparently aimed at scamming Cash App users. These allegations are striking, their impact even more so. Immediately after this report, Block's stock dropped by nearly 15% on the New York Stock Exchange. Dorsey lost $526 million from his personal fortune. This is the worst single-day decline since May 2022. He's now worth $4.4 billion only. Next question. How is he dealing with these allegations? Well, Block has threatened to take legal action against the group. It says Hindenburg's report is factually inaccurate and misleading. The response has done little to calm investors. Last we checked, Block's shares tumbled another 2%, immediately after the company's response. All said and done, this entire episode highlights the growing clout of Hindenburg. With just 9 employees, this firm is taking on the who's who of the business and tech world. First it was Gautam Adani, now it's Jack Dorsey. We wonder, who's next?
A few days ago, we got you the story of the world's happiest countries. We told you how Finland has been crowned the world's happiest nation, and this has happened for the 6th year in a row. But are these so-called happiest countries truly happy? What then explains the fact that the happiest countries also see the highest consumption of antidepressants? Let me break it all down for you. First things first, how do we know which are the world's happiest countries, you wonder? Well, the UN publishes the happiness report every year. It ranks the countries on their happiness based on 6 factors. This includes social support, income, health, freedom, generosity, and absence of corruption. And Finland came out on top. Now, it may not be the biggest or the most powerful nation in the world, but it has plenty to offer that other countries do not. You see, the country has a well-functioning democracy and low levels of corruption. And by the way, Finland is not the only happy Nordic country. Denmark came in at number 2, followed by Iceland at number 3. Israel bumped Switzerland out of the number 4 spot, and the Netherlands once again came in at number 5. But you know what's really interesting? The happiest countries are also some of the biggest consumers of antidepressants. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, between 2000 and 2020, the consumption of antidepressants increased nearly 2.5 times across Europe. Iceland was at the top spot. Sweden and Norway were next. Finland and Denmark were among the top 10. Iceland, by the way, was the 2nd happiest country in the world in 2020, and it has the highest antidepressant consumption in Europe. Which brings me to my bigger point here. Are the parameters to gauge how happy a country is good enough? Are they sufficient? Then what explains the fact that the happiest countries also consume the most antidepressants? Isn't this, at the end of the day, all about safeguarding mental health? Is that the secret sauce to happiness? Because clearly the data does not indicate that the happier people are, the less they consume antidepressants. In fact, the Finnish people themselves have talked about how the measures to judge how happy a country really is do not account for aspects like loneliness. And after all, isn't happiness subjective? Is it really fair to gauge it on the basis of such broad parameters, which might not take into account the ground reality? You see, happiness means different things to different people. And the COVID-19 pandemic has taught us about the importance of safeguarding our mental well-being and the growing need to raise awareness about mental health-related issues. Let's now tell you what else made news around the world. Time for Gravitas Global Headlines.
Global consultancy firm Accenture says it will lay off 19,000 employees, or 2.5% of its workforce, over the next 18 months. The company says about half of these jobs are in administrative or support functions. After a day of violent clashes and arson in France, the government says 457 people have been arrested and 441 security personnel injured, as protesters vent their anger against the controversial pension reforms. Around 25,000 military and 1,000 police personnel in Sri Lanka have quit their posts in the last 2 years. Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca tells Parliament. He claimed that the personnel left because they were ordered to carry out wrong acts. 8 pro-Iran fighters killed in U.S. airstrikes in eastern Syria. This after a drone attack killed 1 American contractor and injured 5 U.S. troops. Lloyd Austin had authorized strikes against facilities used by groups affiliated to Iran's IRGC. China hits out at the United States, says America has unreasonably suppressed TikTok. This comes hours after the TikTok CEO is grilled by US lawmakers. Beijing says it does not ask companies to hand over data gathered overseas. Slovakia has handed over the first 4 MiG-29 jets that it has pledged to donate to Ukraine, according to the country's defense ministry. Slovakia, a NATO member, last week joined Poland in announcing the delivery of jets to Ukraine. In total, Slovakia said it would donate 13 of the Soviet-made fighter jets, which Kyiv believes are crucial to repel Russia's year-long invasion. A forest fire raged in eastern Spain on Thursday, forcing several residents nearby to evacuate. Many decided to leave before even receiving an official order. According to local media reports, more than 1,000 people were forced to leave their homes. Emergency services said they had set up a refuge for 600 people and a field hospital. After another shooting incident took place in the US when a 17-year-old gunman injured 2 administrators in Denver High School on Wednesday. Several frustrated students and parents gathered to protest at the Colorado State Capitol building on Thursday. The gunman's body was found near his car in a remote area, though the cause of his death has not been confirmed. Students taking part in protests said that they are now scared to go back to school amid the increasing violence. Cristiano Ronaldo became the most capped men's international player of all time as he made his 197th appearance for Portugal. The 5-time World Player of the Year scored twice in a 4-0 win over Liechtenstein in their Euro 2024 qualifying opener. Messi mania gripped Buenos Aires as the Argentina captain led his country to a 2-0 friendly win over Panama. The 7-time World Player of the Year scored his 800th career goal as Argentina played on home soil for the first time since their World Cup triumph.
On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. We are leaving you with Gravitas images. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good weekend.
I just got
7 million cases of CC, that's child sexual abuse.
TikTok is a weapon being used to groom our kids, to groom them.